following podcast contains adult language. Don't complain and not listen to discretion is advised.
Although bourbon may be made anywhere in the U.S., it is associated with the southern United States. So motherfuckers won't even let you make bourbon in the north.
Oh, no.
Oh, that is not bourbon, I'm afraid, for it has been cast north of the Mason-Dixon line.
You can't get oak in the north.
Welcome to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet Podcast, the only podcast to combine the subjects of gaming, tech, media, and puppets for no easily explainable reason. It is July 31st, 2026. You are the internet. I am Kevin Blades. My pronouns are he, him, and this is episode 15 of season 4 of Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet Podcast. Joining me is my co-host. His pronouns are he, him. It's Andrew, aka Bat Phantom.
I really respect how quiet the band is once we get started. They just all just sit there quietly.
Nothing else is, though.
Well, you know, the band is super chill.
Recording, this is unusual. We're recording it currently 2:47 p.m. in the afternoon, which is, I guess there's no other 2:47 p.m. It's only
really
the
isn't.
Afternoon. It's the only time that happens.
So yeah, today I have the day off because the school does an extra day for the August long weekend, so we get the Friday off.
And I'm cheating on the podcast.
Hell yeah!
Tonight I am guesting on a Warframe podcast.
Oh, that's not cheating at all. It's perfectly complimentary.
So I had originally and messaged Andrew saying, "Hey, can we do it on Saturday?" Because the one time, so they record on a 2-week. I think a 2-week cycle, just like we do. And of course, it was the same 2 weeks that we do. So I had originally messaged Andrew saying, "Hey, can we do it Saturday?" And Andrew said, "Saturday's fine." But I also happen to have Friday off. So it's like, oh, well, then we can just do it afternoon Friday.
Hell yeah.
So here we are.
So if you hear children in the background, it's because we live in a world of children.
The building is awake. There's the daycare outside. If you've ever listened to one of my streams and you've heard like the helicopters and the screaming children, which is like the soundtrack of my life.
It's beautiful.
It's
the circle of life.
What's going on here?
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
How you doing?
I don't know, man. Fine. I guess, I'm not going to complain. It's all about perspective. I have a job where I get extra time off, which is nice. It's a blessing. I'm watching all these punters going to work today, and I'm just including my roommate who's working right now. Indeed. If I wasn't here, I would be just playing video games right now. That's all there is to it.
So you're going to talk about playing
or I
video games.
might have snuck out to another screening. Just because sometimes I do that on my day off. I'll go catch an early show.
How was that sneaking?
I mean, it feels like, okay, you know what? No, it feels like when you're catching a matinee on a weekday, it feels like you're sneaking out of work. And Lord knows I've done that once or twice.
I worked for myself for so long. I still there's that neuron just ain't there anymore.
But your boss in the back of your brain is still kind of yelling at you.
That's true.
That does.
That's
count.
24/7 in my life.
At the very least, they've got their arms crossed and they're shaking their head as they're watching you watch a movie. So. Speaking of which, I mean, might as well get that out of the way because when last we did the podcast, I was going to see the Odyssey.
All right, yeah.
And then I saw the Odyssey, and it's funny because the same thing is happening this week where I'm going to see Spider-Man on Sunday.
All right.
I can't talk about Spider-Man, but even though that's already out. So I mean, just to briefly talk about the Odyssey. As middle-aged men of the podcast, we have to talk about the Odyssey.
We do.
This is just required.
Can I talk about the actual Odyssey?
Sure. I mean, but this is the beauty. It's just incredible how I want to say it's an elevated conversation right now because the Odyssey is the #1 movie in the world. It's a giant fucking hit. In the face of the dickheads who were trying to say that, oh, go woke, go broke, it's going to be a failure, and it turns into one of the biggest movies of all time already.
Homer's gone woke.
Oh my God, it's just so pitiful, and it's really the fact that they were so open about it in advance and saying, "Oh, it's gonna be a failure."
But this is the playbook, right? This is what they say for everything.
Yeah, but they're right sometimes, and that's because they just if they hate on everything, anything that does below expectations,
it's no better than chance.
But it has been an incredible representation of moving the goalposts.
Yeah,
one post last week basically said that in order for it to be successful, it has to gross $1.5 billion. Like, you talk about moving the goalposts. That's just amazing to say with a straight face. Actually, it has to gross $1.5 billion. And then they'll say, no, I didn't mean worldwide. I meant domestic. It has to gross $1.5 billion domestic.
It has to gross $120.2 billion in my house.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and the same dickheads are saying that they honestly were suggesting that Universal was buying out theaters, like basically just buying tickets.
Full
and
flag.
People were showing up to screenings and the theater was empty. Like, this is crazy. How is this happening?
Ben Shapiro sneak in somewhere with a camera.
Actually, Ben Shapiro likes it. Just to reinforce
it.
The
worm has turned.
Well, I mean, it's a great movie. I mean, you would have to be a dick. And this is the other joke this week.
Spoilers, he's a dick.
Yeah. The other joke this week is that Emily Wilson, I think her name is, who wrote a very celebrated translation of the Odyssey a few years ago, which has sold millions of copies now because people want to see the original.
All right.
She shit all over it. And the stupid thing is that it really sounds like she's shitting on it on behalf of MAGA.
Really?
Like, the woman who wrote a translation of the Odyssey turns out to be a MAGA head. It seems to be the narrative at this stage.
Interesting.
She just hated on it for dumb reasons.
Right.
And people are attacking her now for demonstrably stupid approaches to this. And it's sad, really.
Well, to the point that a translator is not necessarily a historian, right? So just
specific things like the food looked terrible, and then the food in the Odyssey is celebrated, and the women are not well represented. And I mean, you know, obviously there's some you can put some teeth to that observation, but again, it's a 3-hour movie and not a 12-hour miniseries. So yeah, they definitely did some short shrift to the female characters, but the way they were presented still made sense, you know, and just there was no sex in it. Like, okay, so he didn't spend a year fucking Cersei in the movie instead of just kind of, he never touches her in this version. It's a very quick interaction and they move on, you know. And then obviously the bit with you know better than I, the one he ends up actually spending time with when he's on the lotus flowers. Cassiopeia? Calliope?
Well, the Cassiopeia and Calliope is different. Calliope's, I don't honestly. Yeah. It's
I know that there's also there's two different translations of the names too. So, you know, sometimes I'll get them confused. Anyway, the one that he ends up spending time with, again, it's presented as a very sexless endeavor. There's no sex scene between he and her, despite the fact that it's Charlize Theron in this version. You know, it's basically just laid out that he's high to forget what he did to end up in this position.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the biggest difference, and to come back to the actual film, the biggest difference that they've taken for this iteration is that he has removed the physical presence of the gods.
Oh, all right.
The gods are very much what are driving the material, in that the core story that the core,
because otherwise you're doing Clash of the Titans,
exactly.
Right?
So he 100% did not want to do that. So it's basically that they're not focusing on the gift of Zeus, I think they call it, where you're supposed to welcome guests in your house and treat them as brothers, that kind of thing. Just the very simplest of elements of hosting hosting guests. And what he feels that what they did in Troy was an absolute violation of that rule. And that's what he basically hangs around his neck like an albatross, is the fact that what they did with the Trojan horse was entirely a violation of Zeus's trust. And so there is no physical Zeus, there is no physical Poseidon. I mean, they refer to the Cyclops.
What's Liam Neeson? What had happened? Liam say no?
Release the Kraken. but it was great because he wanted to ground this as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it works so well. And obviously it's a commentary. There's so many fucking levels to this thing. It'll be picked apart for decades for what he pulls off in narratively that's so subtle that you don't even notice it. But yeah, it's a commentary on war, you know, people dealing with the aftermath of war and you know, responsibility for your soldiers. And there's so many elements to it. At the very core of it, it's an incredible theatrical experience. The IMAX presentation is phenomenal. And that has started its own discussion about the aspect ratio. You know, the full height IMAX. I love full height IMAX, but he also shot it for the widescreen versions in that same aspect ratio. So the focus of what's really happening is just a third of the screen, really, but it's opened up for the IMAX. And a lot of people
that has happened for so many years when they were releasing film on home video and you had to shoot for 4:3.
Precisely. But it's reopened that discussion, which is something a lot of people just never occurred to them before. Just today, somebody posted on the movie subreddit, they sought out the pan and scan version, not pan and scan, the full frame version of Air Force One. This happened a lot. Basically, this is largely limited to the 90s, but it also did happen in the 80s. They would shoot stuff in Super 35, and they would do it open frame for the home video version is what they were intending, but they would basically mask it for the theatrical widescrreen.
Yep.
And so what you're seeing is largely an open image, but the composition is not what the cinematographer really intended.
Yeah.
So in most of these cases, the most recent example would be Blade Runner 2049. Roger Deakins has said the widescreen version is his intended version for you to see. The IMAX version is still a delight and awe-inspiring for what it is, but on a creative level, he feels very strongly that the widescreen version is what he would prefer you to watch. So anyway, this is going to be a big discussion for the Odyssey on the home version, because now that everybody has gone psychotic, and I mean psychotic over the IMAX iteration, it's going to be a matter of, can I ever truly enjoy this in the widescreen versus that? And you know, I do, and obviously I'm nerding out a bit over aspect ratios, but it has become part of the discussion, because so many people are now saying, if I don't see it in 70mm IMAX, am I truly seeing the film? Like, holy shit, step back.
Andrew, in order for me to enjoy anything, I need the maximum number of pixels at all times.
Right. And infinite pixels with film, obviously, because it was shot on film. And yes, the 70mm IMAX is definitely the best way to see it if possible. And I have not seen it in 70mm IMAX because I don't want to go to Vaughn. I think I talked about this last time, how there's a good chance that the film will break. And it has happened, but they have fixed it. So the Vaughn location had at least one break, but they did manage to repair it, and they did go back, and they are still presenting it in 70mm. And internationally, they have now basically booked this through September. In any theater that can show it in 70mm IMAX will be showing it in 70mm IMAX until the film shatters into a million pieces. And that's the thing, is that people don't understand, is that if you go see it in late August, that film has been run a lot, like basically constantly for the last month. It's going to get damaged. It's going to have shit on it. It's going to have all the artifacts that were the problem with film presentation.
Right.
If you saw it early, great. It was the prints were still wet. It was pristine, but you know, people were still saying,
now I'm having memories of going to see like theatrical presentations when I was a kid, and there's like hair on the screen.
Yep.
And there's like
cigarette burns.
Yeah.
People didn't even notice cigarette burns until Fight Club, when he physically had to point it out as his job as a projectionist. So people were more aware of the elements of a theatrical presentation. So again, it's a phenomenal film. You don't feel the 3 hours. It goes like stink. It just rips. It's so great. The grounding of the material, like the way that they present the Cyclops, is horrifying. But they obviously had to simplify it a great deal. You know, they don't have the giant sheep in this version. They're just normal sheep. The Cyclops himself is massive and eats people, but he's just kind of another animal in a lot of ways. Although he does speak, he doesn't have conversations with Odysseus. It's, if anything, when he starts speaking, when they injure him, they're like, oh my God, he talks. They didn't realize that he had intelligence. They just thought it was this creature. Mm-hmm. So they do still have the supernatural elements in this version, but what's there is more horrifying. I mean, Scylla and Charybdis is fucking creepy as shit when it plays out. The cannibals in this version are the ones that you see in the ads with the silver armor, and they're just giants in silver armor. So they didn't want to have more naked guys running around eating people. It was just, here is a force of nature that cannot be stopped.
The Greeks really love their naked guys eating people. I don't know what the deal.
Yeah, it would have been too much to have them also be naked and cannibals. But anyway, it's a tremendous film. Absolutely, we're seeing in the theaters as it was intended. And whatever version you can seek out. If you can see it in IMAX 70mm, great. The tickets are gone. Even they've been re-releasing or adding more screenings, and those have been eaten up very quickly because of the psychosis people have over this IMAX 70mm version. Even the IMAX laser that we have here at the Scotia is fantastic. That's what I saw it in. It was tremendous. There were no flaws in the presentation. It was great. Would it look better in 70mm IMAX? Probably. There would be a notable difference, but the laser projection is extremely crisp and flawless. That's the thing I keep coming back to. As laser projection has improved, it's flawless now. And all of those problems we used to have with the film versions are gone.
Right.
And I would prefer a slight lack in clarity and have pristine presentation versus the breaks where they had to stitch it together and put some tape on it, and the scratch running through it for a chunk of the reel, and there was something to be said for it. But in the end, I'm fine with the way it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, Odyssey's totally worth seeing. Spider-Man, I'm very excited to see. The reviews have been between mid and very positive. I love Spider-Man, so I'm very hopeful that I'm going to enjoy what I'm going to see. And if it turns out to be okay, that's fine. I'm not, if I really gave a shit, I would have gone to see it on Thursday.
Yeah. At this point, what really are your expectations for?
I know there's, I used to be terrified of spoilers. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And just to quickly get it out of the way, San Diego Comic-Con was this last week.
All right.
There was very little massive announcements. They did a Marvel panel. They did announce that they're working on Black Panther 3. And what's interesting is they cast T'Challa's son as an adult actor, or at least he's not old, but he's did you see Alien Romulus?
No.
The most recent one?
No.
It's great. I really enjoyed it. But the gentleman who played the android in it is going to be playing T'Challa Jr., whatever the fuck he's called.
All right.
So the fact that T'Challa's son in the second one is like 3 means it's going to be quite a jump, I would imagine, for whatever this next iteration is. So, that's great. I'm glad they're doing it. Coogler's doing it.
Kind of been enough time.
Well, Jesus, yeah, I know. But
you could make an argument for it.
The kicker with anything Marvel is that it has to fit into the MCU, and the way that they're largely hitting the reset button with Doomsday and following that with Secret Wars at the end of 2027. This isn't coming out until 28, so it's going to come out after all of this has happened and the so-called reset button has been pressed, and they've thrown in the X-Men into the mix. And yet this still has to continue what they've already set with the other 2 Black Panther films. So, there's still the question of, do I have to watch all of the other films to understand what's happening? They don't want to worry about that.
I'm sure anybody from marketing will tell you no.
Right, exactly. And as they've said, you don't have to watch anything to enjoy Doomsday. Also, we'll release an extended version of Endgame with extra material, which will help set up Doomsday. It's like, pick your lane, guys. Mm-hmm. Is it I don't have to have seen anything, or you got to see the new version of Endgame with extra footage?
Truly appreciate it.
It really bugs me. The other news is that they're going to do another Ghost Rider film. They finally got Ryan Gosling. He was inevitable. Ryan Gosling was always going to be in the MCU at some point. It was just a question of when.
Oh, wait, I'm thinking of Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Yes.
It's been like forever the thing.
That was it. And then they finally got him for Deadpool Wolverine, and he's in Doomsday. He's being brought in theoretically with part of this X-Men universe reboot that they're now doing. Eventually, they just announced today that they want Samara Weaving to play Emma Frost in this new X-Men reboot. Sure, I'm sure she'll be great. She's a good choice. She looks the part. But, there's a million characters in X-Men. It's going to be nearly impossible to do just a generic, simple, let's just tell an X-Men story. It's like, no, this has to start the entire new universe of the mutants in the MCU. Blah, blah, blah,
that thing everybody is really, really fatigued about? Yeah. Let's do more of that.
Yeah, so now you talk about superhero fatigue, the new Spider-Man film is on track to be the biggest opening of all time. This weekend. It could be
that doesn't track in my brain for some reason. There's a little flag raising right there.
Somehow,
how are we measuring this shit now?
Spider-Man is somehow still elevated over the MCU, which is great, and people just like No Way Home, the last one that came out, was a gigantic film on multiple levels. Like they brought in all the other Spider-Men for the multiverse, and it was a giant story, and obviously it made a fuck ton of money. And so I'm surprised that the new film is looking to top that. I fully thought it was going to come down 10-15% from that. Like, the peak has been met. This shouldn't even try to equal that. Let's just tell a good Spider-Man story.
We're not trading the executives well, people. If you keep doing this shit, they're going to keep doing that shit.
So, and again, IGN gave it a 7. I didn't want to read the basics of it, but at the if IGN's giving the new film a 7 out of 10, they could be interpreted as an actual 5, and they have to be polite, right. or they're trying to stymie the hype and get it a little low, or it's just a 7. It's good. It's a perfectly serviceable story. Obviously, they're trying to do a lot with it, and whatever. So I'm excited for it. The Ghost Rider film, they haven't said anything. My hope is that it's a period piece. I really hope it's
70s.
In the 70s. Yeah. And Gosling is 100% the guy that would do that. And Sean Levy's directing it, and he's the guy that did Deadpool versus Wolverine, but I don't think they're going to try to do anything that insane. I think this is going to be a period piece. I don't think they've addressed that at all, how it fits into the MCU. I don't think Gosling's going to show up in the fucking Avengers movies right away. I think this is very much let's start to do relatively independent films in the Marvel universe. We can tell these great stories. We can set them completely outside of the realm of things and just have fun. Let's just have fun. Let's just do a good movie.
Fun doesn't pay the piper, Andrew.
So yeah, so just to blitz out the movie news. That's basically where that stands. So those are the two big announcements at the Marvel panel. They did a big Spaceballs panel. I am cautiously optimistic about that Spaceballs movie. I know that Mel Brooks wasn't heavily involved, but they recently did a History of the World Part 2, which was a series done for Max, I think, which was a disaster.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but everything I read about, and a lot of people I really like were involved in it. It was dog shit. It was so bad.
This is, how much I love Mel Brooks, so but definitely his time is over.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's because everybody involved was trying to emulate what Mel was doing in the 70s. I think that's
a little bit of that. Comes a point where the moment is kind of gone.
Yeah.
And you learn the lessons from that and hopefully then iterate and do something new. But if you just keep trying to tread the same water.
Yeah. And I think one of the bigger elements of the panel was when they had a moment where they were talking about the new expanded Spaceballs universe, and they were taking the piss out of Marvel and creating all of the Schwartz Awakens, whatever, just all this stuff. They were going to have a million different spin-offs, and they had different universes, and here's the viewing order for these universes that we're creating, and they called it the asshole, the ASS hole, and asshole. I see what you're doing there, and they just kept hammering that. I'm like, okay, fuck, all right, yeah, sure, you might as well do that.
Hey, the joke was funny once, guys.
Yeah,
move on.
and so it's very clever. It's very clever, guys. Oh Jesus, so
they're still doing it.
We'll see. I think it's a shame that they're trying to create so much hype for what will be a fun little comedy, and they're going to try to turn it into a $1 billion movie or something. You know, it's nice that they got Rick Moranis back. It was nice to see him at Comic-Con and getting his flowers and everybody going absolutely fucking apeshit for him as is deserved. And he was clearly very humbled by it. Like, guys, I'm just a fucking actor. Leave me alone. You know, like nobody should be acting like this about me, unless we're talking about SCTV, in which case, laud me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad I didn't go. This was not a good time to go to San Diego, regardless.
No.
You know, it was disappointing to not be able to hang out with my friends there. It would have been fun, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, so that's movie time.
That was movie time.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into this? You made a note about nostalgia. Was that it? Was that?
No, I mean,
there wasn't much nostalgia there, Andrew.
So
I guess there was technically.
Yeah. Well, and this is it. So I mentioned this because this is in the show notes. So the other day, trying to find something to watch, and I like to go through Amazon just to see what they've added, and I want to see if they're getting newer versions of these films, or either the extended cuts or 4K versions of some of them. Mm-hmm. So and what's there but Highlander, and I'm like, okay, I'm curious if this is the extended version and also what the transfer looks like on this one. So Matt's like, well, fire it up. Let's just take a look at it. So we hit play. 2 hours later. And like credits roll. I'm like, yeah, we got to watch this. So, and you know, it just reminds me about the nostalgia we all live in. On aside from that, Highlander's a great movie. It is such a great theatrical film. It is creative as hell. Russell Mulcahy is an incredibly visually oriented director. There's a lot of dynamic camera movement that's not just for show. It's just, well, it is for show, but it suits the plot when it's necessary.
If you don't show it, it's not a movie.
Yeah, and there's so much lightning in a bottle in this film. There's a lot of actual lightning in the film. Evidently, they use Tesla coils to do a lot of the electrical stuff in a tank. And the guy in charge of it is like, we shouldn't be doing this. This is extremely dangerous for the actors. Don't tell the actors.
I mean, speaking of nostalgia, those are the days, right? It's like, well, we need a bunch of lightning. How are we going to do it? I don't know. Get some lightning?
Yeah, let's actually make lightning. But just simple things like Christopher Lambert playing Connor McLeod, the central character of the film. Bro didn't speak English, which led to the character's accent being implaceable, which was perfect. And I don't think there was any intention to that. I think it just turned out there was a happy accident. Like, holy shit, this actually works really well on our benefit to have a guy who's Scottish have a completely fucked accent. And it's perfect. But he had so much aura, as they say these days, in that role. He just was glowing in this film, and he was so unique, and he had very poor vision. He was myopic. It's gotten much worse. So he's swinging a sword, and there's extreme danger every time he swings a sword in this film.
Stuntmen are like, get the fuck out of the way.
And then getting Connery, they had him for like 12 days, so they had to pack in all of his shooting in that one chunk, and it worked out beautifully, and everybody had a good time. And Clancy Brown is phenomenal as the Kurgan, and all of the side actors, and evidently all the Scottish actors were drunk as fuck when they were doing the battle sequences, and people kept getting injured, and just the mayhem of making a movie in the 80s. And I'm sure it was all coke fueled as well. You don't talk about that in the making of as much as anything, but
the cocaine budget's off the roof.
But man alive, there's just so much life in this film, and it's such a joy. And you know, a lot of people dismiss it because of all the shit that happened afterwards, and it's getting attention now because of the remake that's I don't think just wrap production, or if it's just finishing now. Henry Cavill's the lead, and like, you know, that's kind of a layup, casting him as Connor McLeod or whatever the fuck they're doing, and it's I'm sure it'll be fine, but it's not going to have that same energy. It's not going to have that same danger.
Yet another remake,
right? It's just, here's another IP we can leverage.
Here's the thing you remember, right? You remember this, right? Please remember this.
It is being produced.
Here's a picture you recognize.
This is all part of Amazon's purchase of MGM,
right?
And as a result, they have been leveraging all of that IP to make new content for their streaming services.
Yep.
That's it. This is all this is. And if
hashtag content,
God forbid, they should, and hopefully they're hiring some actually passionate people for these projects that know what they're doing and love the material. I am hopeful for this Highlander film. I think it's being directed by one of the gentlemen who did John Wick, which is good. He's a good choice for that kind of thing. Hopefully he's got a really good cinematographer that's doing some crazy shit as well. Have some fun with it. And it would be nice if obviously if they're going to try to make a franchise out of it, they're going to have a better structure for extending that story. Whereas Highlander was a one-off. It was never meant to be a franchise. And then they went, oh shit, it's a big hit. We got to make a sequel. And I'm sure they went, how? He was the one. Everybody's dead. How do you make a sequel out of that?
Didn't you read the script?
And then, so I fired up Highlander 2. Highlander 2 opens with text that says, the ozone layer has failed. What? Like, that's the way Highlander 2, The Quickening, opens with, the ozone layer has failed. And they built a new ozone layer, and now people think that the ozone layer has repaired itself and that the shield is not needed anymore. I'm sorry. What movie am I watching?
Am I having a stroke?
Like, honest to God. And it's totally insane. And part of me wants to embrace the insanity of that, to say, oh, fuck it. If we're going to do a sequel to Highlander, we might as well lose our goddamn minds. What if all of the immortals were actually aliens from another world, and they're here on Earth because they were teleported here as punishment, but also they're fighting to be the last one, and then the last one gets to go back eventually? I don't fucking know. Anyway, at least they took a big swing, and it was just not good. And then they tried to fix it by saying, actually they're not from another planet, they're from the distant past, and they were sent into the future as banishment to, like, oh my Jesus.
What is a planet anyway?
And then they went and they said, oh, what if we just did it? And then the third one decided, well, what if there was a bunch of immortals that were trapped in a mountain, and then they get out and it undoes the quickening, and now Connor McLeod has to fight the new guys.
Half of movies are written by guys just sitting around getting stoned.
Oh, sure. No, it's, again, this was, everything that came out of it was based on, we have the rights to this, we need to make something out of it. They made a TV series, which people love. People really enjoyed the show. But it tried to do its own thing, but also connected to the movies and whatever. That's fine. And then they tried to do movies based off the TV show, which were absolutely unwatchable. And here we are. But the nostalgia thing, I mean, I've gone on before about the nostalgia-bation, but, you know, I'm guilty of wallowing in refresh stuff. So one of the things I wanted to mention was, I don't think I've mentioned it before, one of the foundational series for me growing up was Star Blazers. You're working on it.
It's in there somewhere. It's in the database is accessed.
It was brought to America in the wake of Star Wars, because Star Wars was a hit. Everybody went shit.
We gotta have something with Star in the title.
we need space stuff, and of course there were anime that had been made. And they're like, yeah, give me that one.
Is this the one with the really big, like the submarine in space?
It's the Yamato.
Okay.
In the actual, it was actually called Space Battleship Yamato.
Right.
Japanese. And the premise was that they actually used the Yamato as a shell to create a new spaceship in secret after aliens had bombarded the Earth.
Why are we using this as the shell for the spaceship? Did anybody question this?
It's such a great idea. Just, I mean, obviously it's ludicrous, but the visual, the Japanese,
we're making a spaceship, right? We can make it any shape we want. We can do anything.
Well, they already had a space navy that got wiped out by the aliens, and then they got the technology to make this new ship, and they figured, why not use
just one guy in a grubby trench coat smoking a damn cigarette going, all right, well, we got this submarine, right? We can just
well, the Yamato was, of course, the Japanese flagship battleship,
yes,
the greatest ship ever built. And of course it was easy to use that as the framework just to get people excited about, oh my God, yes, the Yamato, one of the high watermarks of our history, and resurrect it in the service of humanity, to send it into space to fix the Earth, basically. Like they They're given the task by a supportive alien race that says, we can fix the Earth. We've got the device for it. Here's something that's going to get you to us. Come find us and we will help you. And then the show itself had when the version I watched as a kid, Star Blazers, and it was also in the original series. There was a timeline for it, not a timeline, a countdown. The Earth had a year left, basically, as it stood, based on the attacks. Everybody was going to be dead in a year. So they have to get to Iskandar, get the device, and come back to Earth within a year. So every episode would end, hurry, Argo, there are only 13 days left or whatever. And yeah, they called it the Argo for whatever reason in the English version. Anyway, phenomenal series. Had a huge impact on me as a kid. And being from Japan, of course, they had to do a reboot because they do that all the time with their stuff. And nobody blinks an eye when you do a new version of it. So they did a version in, I think it was 2014, with brand new animation, telling the same basic story with some changes here and there. And it's fantastic. And I downloaded it, and I watched it over fairly tight, over a month, I think. And there were 26 episodes in the run, and it's great. And, obviously it hit different, as, being from one of my foundational series and an updated, prettier version of it.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of seasons that came afterwards that I hadn't watched yet. So the other day I was like, shit, I got to rewatch those. I got to watch the rest of the series. And then I'm looking at it. It's like, wait, did I finish it? Because I honestly, what I was doing is I was putting the episodes in a separate folder as I watched them. And I was surprised to discover that I had actually finished the first season. And I'm like, I don't remember how it ends. So I had to rewatch the last episode in order to go, oh yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Because I'm just finding, and again, this is probably just old age, it just doesn't stick. Like I'm watching these things, I'm playing these games, and things are just not in the memory bank anymore. Like when I'm getting through them, and I mean, as a side note, after having played both the new Jedi Order games, I'm seeing references to them in other media, and I'm like, I don't remember that. Evidently you go to the planet, which is where the super weapon from Force Awakens is built in the Jedi in Fallen Order. And I'm like, when did that happen? Is that the planet that the opening is in? I don't know, because it's the stuff just isn't
lot of
sticking.
It's backfilled too.
That's
so
part of it, but it's even
at
so.
the time that you did the thing that may not have been the case, right?
But at the very least, I rewatched the final episode. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's right. Oh yeah, that's right. And I ended up watching the whole thing, and I was tearing up by the end of it because it has some very powerful emotional beats, and it was interesting that it was still impacting me. Obviously, I had already seen it. And
right.
It was like 2 years ago or so, I think, that I watched it. And that's the other thing, is how long it's been. Like my brain is like, oh, you watched that like 6 months ago. I was like, no, man, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, you're right. So of course I've forgotten it. It was 2 years ago. How could I possibly have retained any of this information? So yeah, I am guilty of wallowing, or as I said, wading in nostalgia. I like to think I'm not wallowing in it. I don't only watch old stuff, and I don't avoid new material. I'm always looking for something new to watch. I still want to watch Widow's Bay, which is the hot new show from Apple that everybody loves, and I'm glad. I'm fully intending to watch it. It hasn't been spoiled for me. It's kind of a horror comedy series, but I'm still trying to finish Maximum Pleasure Guaranteed with Tatiana Maslany, which is also an Apple show. And just as a side note, what they're
6 side notes.
Oh,
deep
dude,
now,
we're this is what we love to do. The Apple TV has been producing incredible stuff. And it's because Apple has too much money. They have to spend it. So they have Apple TV, and they are spending that money on shows, and they're making really good stuff. They're hiring the right people, and they're letting them do it. I am still shocked every time a show like Foundation keeps getting renewed, because every other fucking streaming network seems to greenlight cool shit. They produce a season of it, and they go, that was great. Oh, there's more to tell, but no, we're done. We've decided we can't we've gotten every new user that we can out of it.
Yeah,
there's no purpose for us.
Not there, so
there's no purpose for us to do it again. We're just going to redo some old shit instead. And it just keeps happening. Whereas Apple, for whatever reason, keeps supporting these shows, and it's great. Silo season 4 will be its final run, and so they'll finish the story, and then that's great. Foundation, I'm assuming the next season of that will probably be the last, even though there's a lot more material in the books. You know, it's great. So I'm happy that they're still producing well-made stuff that has a budget. It doesn't have to have infinite budget, but a lot of these shows are not cheap. Like Pluribus was evidently a very expensive show to produce because they built an entire neighborhood in New Mexico, but it shows. The money's on the screen. It doesn't look cheap like other series tend to. So don't be afraid to seek out new stuff. Widow's Bay is great. Check that out. I'm looking forward to seeing it. There's lots of new material to see that's worth it. Don't just keep rewatching the old shit over and over again.
You could be like me and don't watch anything.
Yeah. But even video game wise, you know, it's worth branching out. It's good to have. It's fine to have the comfort games, but don't be afraid to seek out new things. Anyway, we'll get into games more in another portion of the podcast.
We should probably move along.
I guess. I mean, again,
the clock is ticking.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
All right, let's go to the coping mechanism. This is the part of the show where we talk about what has either distracted, inspired, or otherwise enlivened us. I don't know, something good thing, something that has been good. We have been partaking of in the past 2 weeks. You got Beetle Moses.
Beetle Moses is a fantastic comic artist who is on fire right now. He's one of the hot prospects. He's got a new book out. His work is very colorful and always involves animals in some fashion. But every once in a while he will do something transformative. And this week, just, you know, reading the comic doesn't do any justice to it, but as the first panel is a gentleman passing away going, dang, that was stressful, wouldn't mind a chill one next time. And the next panel's Reincarnato, which is an insane melange of different universal concepts of reincarnation represented in vaguely Asian fashion and other and then he's reincarnated, and then it's this beautiful shot of a rippling pond with a duck in it, and the duck says nice. And it was just so beautiful. A lot of his stuff is laugh out loud funny, but the good stuff is when they occasionally will break your heart or just, you know, make you rethink everything in just a one panel. Anyway, Beetle Moses is 1,000% worth following on Blue Sky, and his book is available shortly. It's in pre-orders now.
Always pre-order. If you can pre-order from an artist who has a pre-order, always pre-order, because that is makes all the difference. So.
Harris Fishman is his actual name.
There you go.
I didn't even know that, but it is there. But yeah, Beetle Moses, 1,000% follow Beetle Moses immediately. He posts a couple times a week usually, and they're just, it's good shit, and it is definitely a comfort.
Be like good shit. Speaking of, so this isn't necessarily anything that's going to comfort you. But it is definitely part of coping mechanism in that I've talked about Jay Draper before, who's one of my favorite historians, and she specializes in London history. Specifically, she's the one that did the video called How We Beat the Fascists the Last Time. Same one. She's got a new one that does a similar approach to How We Beat the Fascists the Last Time, because the implication that you would assume is that she's talking about World War II, and she doesn't talk about World War II. She talks about much more recent history. In this one, it's about, I believe the title of the video is something like, what to do when you've been replaced by a machine, right? And the assumption being she's going to talk about the Luddites, right? She does begin talking about the Luddites, and of course the very first thing she does is talk about myth bust, the appropriate level of myth busting for the Luddites, which is the whole, you know, they
hate technology.
Yeah, exactly. That's absolute bullshit and slander created by the factory owners, et cetera, et cetera. But she goes on to talk about the bulk of the episode is actually about the rise of the Rupert Murdoch empire. And that has laid the foundation for kind of all the shit we're in right now. Yeah. And it all happened there in London. And she's got a really, really good, very well-researched history on that. And she does come to some conclusions and some very good sort of concrete suggestions about how to go forward. in the light of the current being replaced by machines environment that we currently find ourselves in. So it is very relevant, and as always, history providing context may not be comforting, but it's at least a mechanism by which you can cope. So it's important to have these areas of awareness.
Yeah, I've tagged it for future watching.
It is very good. I recommend it. And also very funny too. She's very.
You got to be entertaining, otherwise, what's the point?
All right. With that, with an hour in, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with the Puppet Pit.
You have entered an alternate dimension, a dimension of fleece and fur, of foam and industrial adhesives, so I hope you have good ventilation. A signpost up ahead. Watch your step. You have just stumbled into the Puppet Pit.
Welcome to the Puppet Pit, where we talk about the puppet side of Operation Puppet for the last 2 weeks, and it's actually been back to more normal, I guess, as
That's
normal
good.
as it ever gets around here.
I thought I had something for the Puppet Pit this week, but it turned out that it was slop.
Oh, good.
It was a video. It was a yellow character called Yelmo. It was just a yellow basic hand puppet just talking, and it was talking about AI. I'm like, oh, this might be interesting. And then I looked. It was 8.5 minutes long, and it just was just a hand puppet talking, and it just turned out that it was just slop. I mean, it was against AI for some reason, but it was made by a fucking prompt. Like, just no.
Yeah. Side note, so because I am unfortunately involuntarily on Instagram, it's funny how the algorithm works, because of course there's tons of Gen AI slop on Instagram, but the Gen AI slop that it's feeding me is anti-AI Gen AI slop. Like,
Yeah, people just don't understand. Don't use the tools of our enemy.
That's it. Exactly.
Just don't.
Anyway, yeah. So I've been back to building for real now that the furor of TennoCon is all died down.
The furor, the high,
the loud, all the. So it's been 3 weeks, I guess, since TennoCon.
Yeah.
And so yeah. So there have been an appropriate number of builds for the amount of time that has passed. Last week was a Live Hands furry monster, which I haven't known one of those in a long time. So
I noticed that.
Up and available on the shop right now. And this week, again, another thing that I haven't done in a long time is humans. I don't tend to do human characters just because
fuck
they're
humans.
humans. I mean, they're boring. But you could find ways to make them not boring, and also they usually sell. So I had enough stuff that I had an idea, and one of them is very gothy. So
There's a reason why Sesame Street still likes to do a lot of human characters.
Well, and that is kind of my design philosophy, at least with that stuff, is so Don Saleen. I've talked about Don Saleen quite a lot. He's an early Muppet designer, and he was working with Jim Henson on a lot of the very early stuff, including all of the early stuff for Sesame Street. So all of the early Sesame Street characters like Bert and Ernie, that's all Don Saleen's work. And when you look at them, you can see that they're very minimalistic, right? When you look at a character, it's like it's one basic shape that overrides everything else. There's not a lot of detail, but there is a shape that conveys a feeling, right? And I mean, look at Bert and Ernie as a perfect example, right? Bert is vertical, Ernie is horizontal. There's and it's the same shape. It's the same vesica shape, but one is up and down and one other is side to side. And that conveys their personalities perfectly. Bert is pointy, Ernie is floppy, right? There's that idea behind it. And so that's the beauty of minimalism, right? Is you can take that and that works very well in a puppet design, because puppets follow a lot of the same rules as caricature, in that when you have to have an immediate impression. It has to you exaggerate features in order to create that instant moment of you recognize something about that character as soon as you see it. There's no it bypasses the intellectual process and just hits your hindbrain, and you go, oh, that's a whatever. You can hear their voice, or you understand something about their personality, or something about that character immediately grabs you. And that's what minimalism allows you to do. So that's the approach that I always take. And it's also simpler to do. It's less complex, right? But as any artist who's worked in minimalism knows, part of the challenge of minimalism is being able to convey complex ideas in a simple form, right?
Make it interesting and while still being
exactly
simple.
It's easy to spiral off into adding detail. It's much more difficult to keep it simple. So that's the challenge there. But yeah, the two humans went up today for sale, and that's kind of it. Other than that, I don't know. I've been debating if I should talk about this on the podcast or not, but I think this may be one of the perks of the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make it that, because of course I'm already thinking about next year at TennoCon.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not a bad idea to start planning this far out in case I do want to get wild with it. So there's two ideas floating around in my head right now. Which one I still haven't quite decided. The first one is so again, in thinking of what character I would want to do, right? Like, what character can I muppify, as it were? I wouldn't want to do Ordis again, obviously. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's the other thing, is like, well, clearly I'm going to do the cosplay contest again.
Right.
I now understand why people do it every year.
Yes.
I can't imagine going to TennoCon and not doing it now, right?
Yep.
It's such an integrated part of the experience now.
And you're actually going to do the proper one.
I think it depends on how
it's
goes.
It has to, because it's got to be part of the performance. In order to
true.
do that, you have to have a mic on you.
That's true.
And it's not like it's going to cost you a fortune.
No.
Like that. It's just, I totally understand why you didn't want to do it this time. You could have easily been part of the professional side of it, especially since you're a professional puppet maker.
It sounds egotistical to say, but I did have a couple of people go, "Oh, you're in the competitive part, right?"
Right.
No. What?
And that's totally understandable. It was your first go. You didn't want to have the pressure. You were already under a lot of pressure as it was mentally.
That was it.
All largely self added, but that's fine. So this time, what's going to happen. There's love. Again, there's love in that room. People want you to have a good time.
Well, and that's it. And just like this, the vibe of being in that room with the people, and like being able to kind of be the dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Well, that's it. You have the maturity.
And it was weird, because I talked about last time. It's like, I actually wasn't nervous. Mm-hmm. Like I expected to be. I was assuming I would be, and I wasn't. I was fine. I was taking care of everybody else who was, losing their shit. So that was actually kind of nice. Okay. So don't want to do Ordis again, but it's Warframe, man. There ain't that many characters that you can muppify, mm-hmm. right? So there is a character, there's a group of characters called the Cavia. I won't go into the full backstory because we'll be here another hour if I do. But one of the Cavia is a sentient fish mm-hmm. named Fibonacci. And he's got this very rough English accent. He speaks like this. I can do the voice pretty good. And I'm like, oh, I can muppify the fuck out of Fibonacci. So it's like, that's on the table. The interesting part about that is somebody who just happened to come across my Blue Sky feed, who was going to be, I won't name them because I don't know how public they want to be with this. They were going to be in the cosplay contest. And they did a character called Lloyd, who is in the same space as the Cavia. And Lloyd he's a butler. It's a whole long story, but he's a human character. But they did a spot on Lloyd. Like, could have walked out of the game perfect. I don't know if they were going to do the competitive part or not. They should have, because it was that good. But I think they had an attack of nerves, like literally at the last second, and they bailed. And they seem like a very nice person, and I've been following them on Blue Sky and everything. So I'm actually thinking, okay. And they're kind of younger, and I'm like, all right, maybe what we should do, because these two characters exist in the same space and they interact, it's like we could do a double thing, right? There's people that did Gauss and Grendel this year. They were a double. So it's like, and I could be there to kind of help them.
Exactly,
calm their nerves and stuff. So if they are into that, and if they are planning on going next year and doing Lloyd because they didn't get on stage this year, I might suggest to them that, why don't we give this a shot, right? Now, if that doesn't fly, or if they're not planning on going, or whatever the whole situation would be. If that's going to be a no, I think I wouldn't necessarily want to do Fibonacci, because that works so much better as Lloyd and Fibonacci than just Fibonacci, that I think I would want to go in a different direction. So the other day I was just like, light bulb moment as I was working. Thing about TennoCon is it's not just for Warframe anymore. It's for Warframe and Soulframe. We're going to talk about Soulframe in a little while, but there's a character in Soulframe called Avocot, who's this, they're sproutlings, I think that's what they're called. They're basically like sentient vegetable people. They're the little cute race.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's made to be muppified. It is. You just see it and you go, yep, that would be a Muppet so easily. I've already got a bunch of patterns I could use as a starting point. Like,
good.
I could really do that. And they speak in like a Cockney accent. So like I could do the voice too.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, hang on. And there were a few people there at the cosplay contest who were doing Soulframe stuff. So it's like, oh.
And they'll be ramping up by then too.
Probably, yeah. Well, then there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff next year for sure. Yeah. I think that you're going to see Soulframe and Warframe become an equal part of TennoCon over time, I think. So
that would be perfect. I think you would definitely.
Yeah. So that's the other. So I think I'm going to approach this individual to see where they're at with their Lloyd thing. If so, I'll do Fibonacci, and that will be a delightful double act. And if not, I think I'll go for Avocot. So I should probably can contact them soon and see what that's
great.
all about. So
that's great.
There we go. I'll put a picture of Avocot in the show notes, because you look at it and you go, yep, that. Okay, we're going to take an actual break, and we will be back. Oh wait, I can do the links thing. It's been so long since I did a proper. Okay,
call to action.
Call to action. Join the Discord. All the links are on OperationPuppet.com. You know all this nonsense. Okay, now we're going to take an actual break, and we will be back with Pixel Town.
The sky above the port was the color of a YouTube video locked behind 17 unskippable ads. Around the rainy streets, people dodged out-of-control robo-taxis and shot down delivery drones carrying $50 burgers. Here we fight the corporate ecologies and get excited about avoiding our phones. Welcome to the mean streets of Pixel Town.
I gotta say, our Lord and Savior William Gibson has been very prevalent as of late. They finally have released a trailer for Neuromancer on Apple TV, which I'm surprised I didn't mention when I was going on about Apple TV. But it looks fantastic. It just looks great. Nobody can say what it should have looked like, because it's so of its time, and we have gone in such a different direction than what he was suggesting. It still looks like it's going to be.
I think it pretty much looks like what he wrote.
Yes,
like
it's going to be
the best you can hope for.
Projection of that time. It's not going to try to be of today, and yet there are still obviously universal elements. The corporations and whatnot are still going to be a driving element.
Well, this is what I keep coming back to. It's like the tech bros completely misunderstand every science fiction they've ever seen. The whole theme of cyberpunk is always about how do you retain your humanity in a world increasingly dehumanized.
Yeah.
And how do you fight back against that? That's the punk part of cyberpunk, right?
No, it's so key. So if you haven't seen the trailer, check it out, but it's not coming out until spring of next year.
I gotta check. I want to press a button and we're gonna see what happens. Nothing. Okay, I did nothing. I did take it. I was wondering if the old Gizmos. No, Pixels and Tokens. That was it. Pixels and Tokens was the old segment. I wondered if I had left the soundbite on there. I did not. Apparently, I cleaned it off. Oh well, it's gone forever. No, it's not. I'm sure it's in the archive somewhere. Hi, welcome to Pixel Town, where we talk about tech, gaming, and all things they're into related. Should we just go down the list?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I talked about Soulframe already, and there's a reason I talked about Soulframe already, and there's a reason I was playing Soulframe as Andrew arrived today. It finally clicked. It took a while. It was not an immediate hit.
So that surprises me because we haven't really talked about it because it is in alpha.
Oh, pre-alpha.
Exactly. So it's an interesting title in that they are obviously letting everybody bathe in that world well in advance of whatever its final iteration will be.
They're literally doing the same thing they did with Warframe. They're releasing a really early version and then taking all the feedback on board and doing big changes to like base systems early on based on that feedback.
So they don't intend you to be playing it a lot, I don't think, right now.
There's definitely not enough. Well, you can.
But even so, they're going to be changing it, obviously.
Oh, yes.
Well, so you don't want to get too invested in how it is right now.
However, they have said that, I mean, there's been a couple of player wipes up until now, but from this point on, from Preludes, I think 6 or something on, there will be no more player wipes.
Oh,
so your whatever progress you make, you get to keep.
So how can they still call it an alpha if they're saying you can keep your character from this point? Because obviously there's going to be a lot of changes.
Game structures are going to change. And the big thing is right now, the game world is literally just an island.
Okay.
And the rest of the world hasn't like been revealed yet. That's what's, and like the major plot hasn't been. There's hints of it, and there's some story adjacent stuff going on that you can do.
Some light world building.
Exactly. And you get a sense of what is going on and who you are, but you don't really, nothing's really clear yet. I think the major plot stuff is what is.
But the gameplay loop as designed, it has to be largely what's happening right now.
Yes.
If that's the case.
Yes.
So again,
it's just the details that are being hammered.
It definitely doesn't feel like a pre-alpha at this point.
I think
even
they're
calling
hedging
this
their bets.
alpha is kind of, I mean, I guess at the very least they're saying we could still pull the rug on this if for whatever reason we hit a wall.
I think this is going to be pre-alpha / alpha.
Right.
I think beta, they're going to open up the world a little bit more. Maybe not all of the world, but another chunk of the world.
But it's a good application of the early access model.
Right.
Something that's been poisoned over the last decade.
And the other thing you got to remember is, like, you can't just decide to play this. You have to have a code, so you either have to have an invite from somebody who's already got it. It's really easy to get one. You literally just have to, like...
Ask politely.
You have to connect your so you have to make a Soulframe account, connect that to your Twitch account, watch one of the streams, and almost every stream there are drops for a code.
Yeah.
And once you join, you get a bunch more codes that you can hand out to your friends.
Yeah,
so.
it's a much more organic.
If anybody wants
spread.
a code, I got you codes.
There you go. So yeah, I just mean in terms of. So I'm cutting you off a little bit in that this is, you initially had tried it.
So this is one of the okay. Steve Sinclair, who's the head of the project, talked early on about how they kind of regret the name because people see Soulframe, and what would you assume that Soulframe is?
I would
based
think
on the name?
it is a prequel to Warframe.
Okay, so it is not really related to Warframe, other than some underlying structures of both the UI and some game elements, but the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is absolutely nothing as you saw.
Yeah.
There's no relationship between this and Warframe. There is, again, there's a lot of UI elements you can recognize. It's the same engine.
Yeah. Another analogy would be this is Warhammer to Warhammer 40K.
Kind of, but even then, it's
right.
like...
I'm just saying in broad strokes. But this kind of feels like the fantasy version of the sci-fi game.
It's so, I mean, the thing that everyone was assuming is, oh, this is the fantasy skinned Warframe. Right. Definitely not. The actual like moment to moment gameplay is totally different. Warframe is very fast, very fluid, very, this has the stylishness of Warframe, but it is very slow pace. It's very methodical.
It is third person combat.
It is third person combat. But of course, Soulframe, you think Souls-like, right? And there is a hint of Souls-like in it. The combat is very reactive. You need to know your dodges and your parries and your blocks and all that kind of stuff. And you have to sort of study enemy animation loops and particularly
it's
for
not
boss
click spamming
fights.
like a normal
It's
MMO.
definitely not that. No, you're not gonna. If you click spam, you are going to fail. You do, as we were talking about earlier, you do have to kind of learn how your class works, learn how the move set works, learn all that stuff. You do have to put in some effort to learn this. But it's just the pacing is totally different than Warframe.
Yeah.
And I am bad at Souls likes, the thing about it. So I would classify this as a Souls light, in that, like, you know, part of the Souls like genre is that whole, you only have certain rest points, and at those rest points, if you do rest, you regain health, but the world resets and all the enemies respawn. That stuff doesn't happen here. This isn't like that. It's more in the style of combat is very Souls adjacent. So it's a Souls light is how I've been thinking of it.
Sure.
The frame part really is a misnomer because it does not bear.
But
any
it is the same
relationship.
engine.
It is the same engine. And you can, if you know Warframe, you can see where they borrowed structures and like how the quote unquote modding system or the totem system in this, you can see where there's like, oh, okay, this is the equivalent of that. And this is the equivalent of that. But it's very superficial,
right?
And it's constantly changing as well. So there isn't that much relationship at all between them. So it is kind of a misnomer in that there's two things you have to explain away with the name, because it's not really that. It is kind of its own thing. But because I'm very bad at Souls-like combat, despite the fact that I would like to be better, I understand the appeal of it. I'm just bad at like memorizing, move sets and animation loops and iframes.
I was always allergic to the you died and lost all your progress.
That is a big thing. That does not happen here. If you die, which is very easy to do, but you have a set amount of time to get back to do a corpse run, you don't lose anything.
Yeah.
And I think, at least at this stage, even if you just respawn where you are, you still don't lose anything. I don't think there's any death penalty at all, to be honest, other than just
And again, it is still alpha.
It is still alpha, so that could change. Well, it's just like Warframe. In Warframe, if you die, you do lose affinity, which is basically XP.
Right.
But it's never enough to kind of go, oh, God. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Diablo. It's if you die repeatedly, your stuff will get damaged.
You have to do a repair thing. Yeah.
But even then, they've changed that so dramatically over the years. It used to be actively damaging.
Yeah.
Like your shit could break in some of the early Diablos. And now it's just, you just got to go to the
It's less
go to
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're tired of punishing people for death.
That is basically where we're at with this as well.
Yeah.
Is like you don't want to die. You definitely want to avoid dying, and particularly like in a boss fight, for example.
Right.
Which there are a lot. This is another place where it is Souls-like in that you've got the standard grunt enemies around everywhere, but then there are the occasional, at very predictable points, bosses, and they're really tough. And you don't want to die in the middle of one of those fights. Now, the nice thing so far is if you do die in the middle of a boss fight, when you go back, if you can make it back to your body, they don't reset. Whatever damage you've done to them, unless they have a heal, is still there.
I respect the phases.
Yeah.
Like if a boss has 3 phases and you die on the 3rd phase, when you restart, it should start the 3rd phase again.
Yeah.
I like that system. So that way you do have to finish that phase again, but you don't have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
So especially if it's going to be a long fucking battle.
Exactly.
So
so far at least, this does not have that level of like punishing.
But you were bouncing off of it.
I was bouncing off of it strictly because I just didn't understand the combat. I've been so Warframe pilled that's what my muscles automatically go to. So if I try and play anything else, it was a challenge that I had to consciously think about, and it just wasn't gelling. And the other part is I didn't understand the upgrade system. I didn't even realize it was there. Yeah. Right? Again, this is DE, so nothing is explained up front.
Also, at the pre-alpha stage, upgrading felt like a waste of time.
Stuff is always changing. That's the other thing. And particularly with the upgrade system, stuff is always changing. So I didn't really look into it because I just assumed it wasn't going to be relevant.
I mean, my thought, even though I'm not playing Warframe, even with Soulframe, I'm definitely at the let them cook stage.
Yes.
You know, like I'm happy, like they're doing their thing. If they want to do a server slam or something, that's one thing. But
the neat thing about being in at this stage, though, is their process of let them cook is like actively getting the feedback. You're cooking.
Please
together.
try what we're cooking
Yeah.
and tell us what you like.
Steve said this at TennoCon. It's like, we're making this game with you. We're not making this game and then getting you to play it. We want a dialogue.
This is not a demo. This is you're part of this process.
And that feels really good when you're playing the game and you know that if you suggest something, even if it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter if you're a big influencer or not. If you have a good suggestion, it will get heard and somebody will actually take action on it. So that's very cool. It's a very nice feeling, but this was just one of those moments when I was playing and I looked into, they have simplified things a little bit. So I did look into the upgrade system a little bit, upgraded the stuff that I had a little bit. And then suddenly it clicked and I got the rhythms of like, oh, here's the block, here's the parry, here's how you know when you've blocked and how you've parried, and here's what the dodge is like. And suddenly it all just kind of fell into place. And I think I've probably been playing more Soulframe than Warframe lately, which is a big statement right now, but it's really clicking. The game world itself, just the vibe of the world, is very distinct. It's, again, they're doing DE magic, right? So it's like, it's reminiscent of other stuff, but it's not quite the same. It's got this real Brothers Grimm fairy tale quality to it. I know that Steve Sinclair is a big Dark Crystal fan, and he's clearly, there's a lot of that kind of influence, that kind of weird darkness in it.
And he's an artist who respects the influence. He's not copying it. It's influencing what he's doing, which is where the true mastery lies.
So it's been very, very cool, and I'm liking where it's going, and I'm glad that I've finally kind of hooked into this thing. So now I'm playing two Digital Extremes games that end in frame.
Nah,
but there we go. So yeah, it's been very cool and neat to see, and I'm looking forward to where they're going. It's big updates. It's good to know that
it's at a good entry level now. Like this is probably a good time to start it, and you don't have to dedicate your life to it.
Oh no,
it's just here, get a taste, get a feel for the world.
I am now at the point where I've done all of the fables, which is what the quests are called, and I'm just like grinding out faction stuff right now. So, and I'm now just playing casually.
And again, you know, you're definitely gonna you're going to be playing it less in the near future, just because you've maxed out those things, and now it's just, this is fun. I could try other classes, I could do some other things, but
it is it is very much that in the same vein as a Warframe or a Destiny, and that is very theory craft oriented. It's very build craft. It's all that kind of stuff.
And it's not like Warframe where you start dabbling in Warframe and you realize, oh fuck me, there's 1,000 hours of content waiting for me.
Yeah, no, it is not that, not yet at least. So I think it'll probably be quite a while before we get there, but nevertheless, it is nice. It is a very nice thing to have, and it's nice again just to support a developer that I have come to very much believe in and enjoy. So
join the Discord and Kevin might help you out.
You want codes? I got some codes. I got a bunch of codes I can hand out. If you want to give Soulframe a shot, we can make that happen. So, all right, you bought a thing.
So, fans of the podcast will recognize our passion for retro material, retro handheld devices. And that we have been quiet about that over the last year, really.
Everything is expensive, Andrew.
So that's part of the discussion here. Now, I have purchased several devices that I do not use, and this has been a constant issue, and I don't feel good about it, but I always purchase these things with the intent of using them and letting them flourish and whatever. So for most retro handheld passionate people, there is an ideal that has been in mind about what you want out of a device. So and one of the main elements of that is the screen, and it has been one of the constant targets has been, what is the perfect screen for a retro handheld? So ideally it's 4x3. a nice high resolution OLED 4x3 display is what has been wanted.
Also, just as a side note, what we call retro, that speaking of moving the goalposts, the goalposts or what is retro has moved quite a bit.
Man, and so and that is very much part of the discussion.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of the target, and the target for most of the people of a certain age, at least, has been a really solid 4x3 setup.
Right.
And because after the PS2, and even the PS2 itself bridged it slightly, there are several titles that support 16:9, but it's that 4x3 display that was always the driving, the real target. You can on a good sized display, you know, and on an 8-inch screen, a 4x3 display is still going to be a good 5 inches on that. So that's all part of it. But I have purchased several 4x3 handheld devices and intended to make all of them a very passionate part of my life, and I've never gotten to that stage. So when Retroid revealed, this came up a few months ago when Russ from Retro Game Core, shout out to Russ, we love Russ. He went to Retroid,
parasocial friend of the podcast,
100%. He went to China and got to go to the Retroid offices.
Oh yeah.
And was shown a device that ticked all of the boxes. And he had done a video just recently about what he would like from a device. And it was basically like they had watched this video and went, yep, here you go. To the point where a lot of people assumed that he was involved in the production of this.
Oh yeah.
So they have now released the Retroid Pocket Nova. And I went, I got to do it. And part of it, as you said, this shit has gotten ludicrously expensive. This is not a cheap device. It is $229 American for the 8 gig version and $280 or something for the 12 gig version. Now, obviously the real killer has been storage. That's where everything gets out of hand. I think this one might be 128 gig. I'm not sure on board, and it's still got expandable memory. Long story short, this is probably it. Anything beyond this technology wise, it's overkill. For the processing power, this will do, I believe it's a Snapdragon Gen 3 on this one.
Right.
More than powerful enough to do GameCube, even Switch if you really wanted to, but this is not the idea for this device. It is supposed to be for doing scaled versions of PS2 era and before,
right,
in a display that can handle multiple levels of scaling for older generation stuff with CRT shaders and all the good stuff added. It'll run PS2 stuff at 4x, you know, with this beautiful display, and at that price level, it's reasonable for a bespoke 4x3.
You see, that price is not exorbitant by today's standards.
Correct. So, and again, it's delivering an OLED display. I don't have the stats on me, but it scales beautifully. It's going to look fantastic. The design layout is pretty much ideal for what you would want. The sound is good. The battery life is great. This is it. And another YouTuber, I was trying to get a critical mass for everybody going, this is it.
Right.
And one of the reviewers basically said, this is it. This is the final stage. Anything beyond this is negligible. There's only so much you can do to make this a better experience in a handheld. You know, if nobody's going to make a bigger 4x3 display, this is as good as it's going to get. And we don't really need to iterate beyond this. This could be the final form for a retro handheld for people like us that want to play that era of gaming.
There kind of has to be that point, right?
Exactly,
because like it's a moment frozen in time.
100%, and that's it. And this feels like that. This feels like, and for games for game companies, this is kind of bad in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, we're at a stage where companies have to constantly iterate and come up with the more powerful. If this is a device that's going to deliver the best possible handheld gaming experience from that generation, that's it. I mean, storage is the only thing that changes from here. I mean, if you know, obviously in a perfect world, you know, you could throw a 4 terabyte drive in this thing and you never have to worry about transferring other titles to it. Everything will just live on it, you know, and that could happen someday. You know, it's the micro SD expansion, you could still throw a 2 terabyte card in there, I think, and it'll be quite happy. Or realistically, you just have a rotating bunch of SD cards that you would throw into it.
There are tools you can get that will like sync it up to you know, like an NAS, and
so you know, you get a good front end on this thing. It's more than powerful enough to do all of the stuff you need. And of course they're like, can it run modern titles? Sure. You can run Game Hub or Game Native or whatever they call it on this thing, and it will run at that resolution, but don't. Just if you want to do any of that, there are a bunch of other equally comprised devices that are 16:9 that are much more suited for it. I've still got my Odin 2 Portal, which I fully intend to use, but that is it's closer to a Steam Deck than what this is.
right.
So I just said, you know what? Yeah, I haven't bought anything in a while, so it's time. It's time for me to scratch that itch. So I purchased it. I probably won't have it for at least a month, probably more. I believe it is shipping. It is in their hands. These guys are using these devices, so they are out there.
Right.
So yeah, the Retro Pocket Nova, if you are into retro handheld gaming, it is definitely worth looking into. Obviously, I'll have more hands-on myself, but there are lots of very detailed reviews right now online, and it does seem like the be-all end-all. And Retroid has always been one of the best companies to make these devices. So for them to present it is perfect. So this could be it. So I'm very happy to have it. And again, wallowing in nostalgia, you know, what better representation of that than playing a PS2 or earlier game on a simple handheld device that's very powerful and looks phenomenal.
There you go.
So,
all right. You missed the No Man's Sky expedition.
So
is this Swarm? Is that the one?
This has been the issue that I had with No Man's Sky is as much as I appreciate the expedition system, they are time limited, and I missed the boat.
Yeah.
And I was thinking coming into this podcast, I'm like, shit, I forgot to play that. I hope I still have time. Nope. It ended like a week earlier. It's like I think it was the 21st or something. They wrapped up the season, and I get it. You want to motivate the player base to be playing it. There are multiplayer elements to it. They created
particularly this one, right? This one was
this. I don't know if it was meant to be played in groups at the same time, but there was definitely a kind of a guild system where there were 3 different groups that you were supposed to, one of 3 different groups that you would join that was part of the leaderboard, yada yada yada. I was more interested in just what the Swarm was, but I missed it. And I am assuming that this will be part of their end of year rerun, where they will definitely bring it back then, and I will get a chance. They
do this every year at holiday time, once a week, like for a week. Every expedition from the previous year runs.
This ran for 8 weeks. I don't know how long it took to quote do the element. It didn't seem like any other one required more than a week of gameplay to really get a lot out of it.
I mean, every time one of these go up, all you have to do is check the No Man's Sky subreddit, and there's like a guide on here's how you do it in 4 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So, and there wasn't a lot of buzz about it. It looked, no, that was not meant to be a joke about the Swarm, but it didn't seem like it was setting the world on fire, but it certainly seemed like a good application.
It was no Corvettes update.
Right. Well, you know, and that says a lot about the game, where people were more excited about building elements than they were about narrative things, like introducing an alien race that was going to try to take out the Atlas stations and things like that, and do damage to the planets that you would have to fix. You know, it was a very interesting concept, and I'm disappointed that they put such a tight window on it. Now, I don't. It's possible they put a tight window because they got a new fucking expansion coming out next week. I don't know. They haven't said anything yet, but
wait for what's his name? Oh God,
it's Murray.
Sean Murray. That's it. Wait for Sean Murray to post an emoji.
Yeah,
that's always the sign.
Light no fire is still a ways away, it looks like, but you know. Anyway, I'm disappointed that because I can understand having elements of it being timed. I don't know how much of that expansion are in the game now in terms of regular gameplay. I didn't look into Are the swarms still there? Do I still have to deal with that?
It's like the garbage
Yeah.
one, where it's like now there's just garbage stuff
that
everywhere.
that was dumb. That was a dumb move on their part. I totally get having planets where there's a lot of industrial waste, and if you could find that planet, you could mine it for shit. That makes sense to me, but don't put fucking garbage everywhere. That's insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, because the expedition was over, I decided not to start again or continue with my previous game. I do have other titles that I'm still playing. The new season of Diablo is coming to a close, I believe. People are already looking at the test realm. This season has been a lot harder for me, even as a spin to win barbarian. I don't know what they changed, but it felt like I was able to get legendary gear much quicker before, but this season it's taken me I had to actually start leveling up yellow gear and adding affixes to it and trying to. It was very difficult to get the legendary aspects that I was supposed to have for my build. I still don't have a couple of them that are vital to my build, and I'm already like Paragon 80 or something in that realm. So it's shocking. I don't know if I just waited too long to go to the other Tempest levels, or so
could it just be bad RNG? Or
no, I mean, I don't think so. I think they actively wanted it to be more difficult.
Right.
They want you to spend more time in those early stages,
right.
as opposed to, because I've said that before, where it feels like, you're level 70 now. You're not getting into Torment. I'm in Torment earlier. The real game doesn't open up until you get to Torment.
Yeah,
and now it feels like they kind of want you to linger a little longer and build up more, have a little more difficulty to get to that. But it is frustrating when you've got a build that you're trying to follow, and it needs certain aspects that you can't get. And they have changed that, where it used to be certain aspects you could get by doing a dungeon. That's all gone. Oh, yeah? Everything is now item drop. It has to be pulled out of an item. Like, you cannot get anything from running a dungeon, at least for this season. I don't know if that's been taken out of the Eternal Realm or not.
Interesting, because that was in from day one.
Yeah,
you could unlock.
I think they just said, fuck it, And again, we're at the quality of life stage for this game, where they want to just make it more fun. They don't want you to feel like you're grinding to get to the good part of the game. They want it all to be the good part of the game. So, anyway, I'm still plugging away. I'd like to at least unlock the shit. I managed to finish the right now they're running an Overwatch edition. So there's a reliquary for Overwatch. I just finished completing that one for a little glowing fox, which is cool. So there's lots of shit to do, and by and large, people have not been happy with this current season. I don't know. I think people are a little happier with the new stuff. I haven't looked into to what the core focus of the new season will be, but it was funny how the joy of the last expansion evaporated when that new season hit, and people despised the new mechanic. So anyway,
it's one of the risks you run when you take swings, right?
Right. And I want them to try things, but and gamers can be very
fickle,
angry when they feel when they're not getting what they want, or they think that the company is trying to claw back aggressive progress. So it's I can't say it's been super enjoyable because of the frustration. Like, I feel like I should be getting better stuff already, but
right.
When you've been getting it so easily for the last couple of years,
that's probably the real problem is the fact that they're making adjustments to like drop tables over time, and you've seen what it was like before. That's the problem. If you come into it now, it would have been wouldn't even think about it.
If I was playing a new class, I would be questioning whether it was just my skill set. But I'm still playing Barbarian, and evidently they're nerfing Barbarian next season, which is fine. I mean, it's been way too overpowered as it is, but that's part of the fun is the overpowered, crazy killing machine that you can become. But anyway,
there's always a balancing act between a power fantasy and too powerful.
Exactly.
Right? So.
I think I've hit the wall on the Lego Star Wars Skywalker saga, because it's so overwhelming. Like, I'm about to finish the last the fucking Rise of Skywalker story, And I just don't see me going on all the planets and unlocking every single element of it like I've done with the other ones, because there's just so much. I mean, there's like 20 or 30 planets that you can go to unlock all the shit. And I've already unlocked enough to see the elements in the level. So it's just like, it's like an Assassin's Creed when you could see all of the different things that are on the map, and it's just, just vomit all over. You can barely see anything for all the circles floating. Yeah. So like, there's a thing over here, here. And so, you know, I may not actually finish it, and that's fine. I had some fun with it. I think I mentioned the one thing I turned on was the mumble mode.
Yes.
And what sucks about mumble mode is that they're still doing the mouth animations for the dialogue. So they're talking with the English dialogue, but you hear which I wanted, but I would rather have shortened dialogue because it's on the screen. You can click through it, but so that's kind of silly. But you know, I understand that most people want spoken dialogue. That's fine. Have fun. So anyway, I think I'm going to try Pacific Drive next. That's I bought that on PC, but I downloaded it on the PS5, and that's one that's supposed to be really, really interesting, where you're in a weird dimension in the Pacific Northwest, but you're keeping your car alive, but you have to get further and further away from your base to figure out what the fuck is going on. It's a very lauded title, so I'm curious to get into that. So I just started that one today. Heard of it. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into. So I'll have more to report on that probably next time.
Excellent. All right. I guess we're at the last thing, which is, of course, our usual Warframe check-in. Mm-hmm. And so, as I talked about earlier, I'm actually going to be doing a dedicated Warframe podcast, guesting on a dedicated Warframe podcast called Hey Kiddo, Whispers from the Void.
Nice.
And we're talking about my experience at TennoCon. And, you know, part of the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to talk Andrew's ear off about Warframe every goddamn podcast, because I could talk some Warframe, let me tell you. The Warframe streams have been continuing, thankfully. Mm-hmm. And I may actually be adding on some Soulframe streams as well. So
sure.
We'll see about that. There isn't a whole lot new in Warframe currently because we're in the kind of post-TennoCon lull.
So they made the announcement about what's coming, but that hasn't launched?
There's lots of announcements, yeah. So there's the summer event is about to kick off. There's a thing that's very much akin to a battle pass. Mm-hmm. That's about to change over to the new one. Mm-hmm. That's going to happen in a week or two. And there's a cyclical summer event called Dog Days that's about to kick off, and that lasts for a couple weeks, I think. Mm-hmm. So that's what's coming. That's the next thing that's coming down the pipe. Then we've got the August update. Then there's a fall update, and then there's the big one. There's Warframe Tau. So
Tau doesn't come out until
Tau is not till the end of the year. Tau is still ways away. This is the big one. This is much like the old piece was last year. Last year was literally just before the holidays. I don't know why they do this to themselves, man. Every big update is going to be bugs. Stuff is going to break. You don't launch a gigantic, like the next big thing and then go, all right, we're out. Yeah. Right? Stuff's going to happen. They had to have people come into the office during their off day. It's just, no, man.
It's mean.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's what's going on with Warframe. So, you know, just stay tuned for all of that because there's a lot more and it's never ending. The clan is actively recruiting. I got some spaces. We expanded recently. So good. There's some more spaces if you want in the Pixels and Puppets Warframe clan. We've actually got people decorating the dojo now, which is exciting. We've actually got a little garden out near the front. It's very, very pretty.
Some gnomes.
Orb the Mothman is currently building a Muppet theater in one of the dojo rooms. Yeah, okay. I like where this is going. So yeah, that's what's happening there. So I'm taking steps to engage even further with the Warframe community, which is kind of another reason why I wanted to do this the Warframe podcast.
That's fantastic.
So there we go. All right, that will do it. We are actually on time.
Cool.
Surprising. but not unexpected. Wow, afternoon. It's 4:20, Andrew.
Lol.
Oh, God. All right.
Spark 'em if you got 'em.
Oh, dear. Anyway, OperationPuppet.com for all of the links, etc. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Kevin.
And if you've made it this far, you are, of course, a champ. Finger on buttons, and we will catch you next time. You have been listening to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet podcast. Visit www.operationpuppet.com for all our links. Tell your friends, give us a rating wherever you get your podcasts, and join us again because nothing is more entertaining than aging nerds giving their opinions on the internet.